basically it's about $500,000. So if a Falun Gong practitioner is killed and their organs are sold, now the organs don't last very long. They have to be transplanted quickly. But if they could transplant all the organs, including skin and lungs and everything, I mean it's corneas. If they could transplant all of those immediately before the organs become unusable, I think it adds up to about $500,000. But if you take 60,000 Falun Gong practitioners times $500,000, what does that work out to? It's a huge amount of money, and if ever there was ill-begotten proceeds from crime against humanity, that's it. We are asking people if they can get the name of a doctor or doctors who are doing these transplants to please get us their names. We have a number of the names in our recordings where we phoned a hospital and a doctor will identify himself and will say, yes, there are Falun Gong practitioners available for taking organs from. And we've got their names, but we want all the names we can get so that these names can be provided to the International Criminal Court. And these people, I hope, will be on the docket in front of the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, because that's what these things are. And so, hopefully doctors, if they realize that people are trying to get their names and are getting their names, some of them will say, I'm not going to do these operations anymore. And I have one of the examples we cite in the book is a doctor who removed, it's hideous, he removed the corneas from 2,000 Falun Gong practitioners over a 2-year period. And we have his name and so on, and eventually he stopped. He was having nightmares, he couldn't sleep, and he'd been paid the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of US dollars, his wife told us, and he left the country. I'm not sure where he is now, but these are the kinds of people we want their names and their as much information about them as we can, so that we can have them ready when hopefully when China becomes a democratic country, these people will go to the International Criminal Court. We can imagine 2,000 over a 2-year period. They were being run through his operating room at a pretty high rate of speed. It only takes about 20 minutes, I'm told, for remove a cornea from somebody's eye, or 2 corneas. But yeah, no, these were people who were being forced to do this. It was a crime against humanity of the worst kind. He would take the corneas out, and then they were under anesthetic. They'd be taken into another room, and then all their organs would be taken out. Initially in several other rooms, but finally they did all the operations in one room, and then the bodies were burned. So your 2,000 people were killed just in that one hospital. The doctor knew they were Falun Gong practitioners, and he told his wife this. Now, I was a prosecutor for 10 years, and somebody's going to say, well, that's hearsay evidence, because you have to get that out of his mouth, not out of his wife's mouth. But reasonable people who aren't hung up over fine points of procedure would accept, I think, readily that, and especially if they read her statement, which is in our report, which is available in 18 languages on our website, david-kilgore.com, would read her statement and would say, this is a woman who's been told all these things by her husband, and it's as if it's coming from his mouth. And since he won't talk to you, you can't talk to him. You can count on his wife's evidence. And if you don't like her evidence, and some people don't, you've got 51 other kinds of evidence. And at some point, 51, 50, 49, at some point, most people will say, yes, I am absolutely convinced this is happening. And unfortunately, most people, David Matus and I are completely convinced it's happening. And we've become more and more certain it's happening as we talk to more people. We talked to one person, I better not mention the country. He's doing fine, his health is good, but he told me that over about a year-long period, he went to the Shanghai #1 People's Hospital twice. First time, a Major Tan, a surgeon in military uniform, of all things, brought him 4 sets of kidneys, and none of the kidneys were compatible with his body. So he went home for 3 months, came back about 3 months later, and he got 4 more sets of kidneys. And finally, the 8th set of kidneys worked, and he's home doing fine. But 8 human beings are dead. And I'm sure that, I mean, I don't have the names, but I'm sure that at least half of those people are Falun Gong. Victims who have been convicted of no crime. A policeman has signed a little form, and they go off to the forced labor camp. And then, as I explained to people, the when the computer says that you're a match for somebody in Shanghai hospital coming from Canada or Sweden or someplace, that person is killed. And the person comes home with a new kidney or liver, and of course they're told they're getting it from a convicted murderer or something. But we explained very clearly that the only people in these camps who are examined medically every 3 months are the Falun Gong practitioners. And the other prisoners aren't examined at all. So it's for obvious reasons that the Falun Gong, because they don't smoke and drink, are considered to be the best people to get organs from. So it's a no-brainer for people to, I think, understand if they know these things, that Falun Gong practitioners are being killed for their organs. How many? We're asked that a lot. David Matus and I estimated that from 2001 to 2005-06, it was about 41,500 transplants could only be explained as coming from Falun Gong practitioners. Ethan Gutman, who went at his research in a different way, estimates that it's about 60,000 Falun Gong practitioners have been killed for their organs in these forced labor or concentration camps. And if you project us up to 2008 too, our figures are remarkably similar. It's sort of 50, 60,000 human beings have been killed for their organs in China.